Yeah, so this video, what can I make a video on? I used to have a very, uh, one thing in particular I think it was sacral structure, everything I do as in terms of existence is I won't call it traditional. I know not to call it traditional. I don't know not to call it contemporary, but really, not mainstream, hardly mainstream. But really, one thing, in terms of spiritual, political, no, prosperous, no, joyful, no. One thing in particular is dutiful, yeah. When people say the word duty, they always think police officer because they've been programmed by people, who believe in the land of America, right? And they're on about this, that New York cop, that duty to police, that booty, like shaft, yeah. You know what I really think? Tell them, Bilal. Well, duty is really jihad in Islam, and if you're American, you should know about Islam. If you're Asian, you should know about Islam. If you're Arab, you should know. But really, they really think simply. So I'll give you the answer to the question I asked you, if you know that. Now they say Judaism came first and then Christianity followed and Islam followed, but really, there's so many different religions and sects in the world. So I'll name 6 of them: Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Sikhism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Currently, I am practicing in my wholeness and oneness is Buddhism. Now, it's not necessarily worse for some, but it's really, I would define it specifically. Not Hinduism is the devil worship, and devil. But me, if I have a devil name, it's Iblis, and Iblis is worship of, the universe, like you look at Christianity, it's worship of a cross, like what mankind has done. So Judaism, is worship of the Torah, like the heavens, the earth, and all above. So really, and I'm not Hindu and I'm not Jew, I'm a Buddhist, but my housemates are that. So, you know, generally I talk about Buddhism, like, but they said the story of Buddhism, there was a prince was born and his name was Siddhartha, and he was born in the Far East, and you know, he was born into royalty, and at the time the royalty were like the ruling power in religion, it's not, but he was like, there was a prophecy about him that his father had made, and said he would be a great man, and said, he will rule all the nation, and his father expected Siddhartha to be a man of blood, king or an emperor, sultan of blood, but he turned out not to care about killing and violence. He turned to care about stuff like, wives and sex and prostitution and pimpery and, worldly things, Anyway, a Buddha was born to him, and a Buddha means slave, basically, I think they all do, but Buddha, he was always out, getting sun in the town, in the city, like at the markets, at the temples, in the schools, just being a normal, not pauper, but son to a pauper, they could decide to be a slave, really, so I really do, believe it means that, so, Siddhartha once found out about the Buddha and says, oh, I can't do the things he does. He dances, he sings, he does poetry, he does art, he does really nice art, and he became jealous of the Buddha. And Siddhartha says, I want to do these things. So they start to adapt all these things that Buddha did by walking there in groups and crowds and forcing them, the debauchery, they created, a superficial environment where the artificial environment was, they built on man's creation, so it's really doubled up. So it's two, but essentially, I think Siddhartha must be the prophet to police. That's what I realize now. But me, the Buddha, me personally, I think a slave to God, which is the truth around here, When in Saudi Arabia, I'm a Sufi, in other words, is to live, exist within the hellfire, but the Buddha, he exists in the Babylon, the way it was intended to be, not the way man created it, because the way it intended to be was, a spiritual, environment, habitat, a house, a home, all that things, but the things that you know, when people start to dabble and all these things, you know, like it becomes a haram, you know, people walk in, take what done, this, that, the other, you know, there's no law, you know, they break the law. Respect the law. Why? Because, you know, like it's karmic cycle, you know, if you don't respect the law, then it'll come around and bite you in your bum, you know, like you get beaten up, you know, you get bad health, you get disease, you know, you get robbed, stuff like that. So it is what you make it really. But, you know, Siddhartha, you know, it's similar to the story of the Pharaoh in ancient Egypt, you know, but Siddhartha had a temple. He didn't have, you know, he had a palace as well, but, you know, like there was the palace and the temple, and Siddhartha, you know, the Holy Prince, you know, like, he chose to go to the temple instead of the palace, you know, so he missed all the rules, he broke all the rules, and he used to rape virgins and take people's mums and wives and all that stuff. And, you know, like, you know, it's very immoral, really. But, you know, basically what happened to him is the Buddha had the theory is if I go out into the wilderness and I meditate and pray and do my mantras and call upon the power of Babylon and paradise to send out, you know, a wave of pure and good consciousness of the light, you know, then Siddhartha, you know, I'll take them all, you know. How did Muslims in Saudi Arabia beat the invading forces from Abyssinia, you know, when there was only 5 soldiers? And, you know, how did they beat an army of 1,000 when the army of 1,000 was armed to the teeth with swords and spears and daggers and sabers, and they had cannons and muskets and rifles? How they walked on the battlefield, they put down their tent as a sheet, they got in the tent, they prayed and they called, and the people left in fear. That's how they did it. They used prayer to defeat an army that was much larger from them by fighting in the name of God. Become filled with passion, you know, become filled with light and energy and enthusiasm and joy. And realize that you never ever lost, or you never ever without hope, you know. In this life, God will punish you if you have something bad or negative, or as the Muslims say, shaitan, you know, enter you. Because God wants you to be pure and to be good. He does not want you to be corrupt and fallen like mankind became. So, you know, I basically just wrap up. It is the ability to say no and oh. Now in Rome, if you're able to say no, that is like Alhamdulillah, ya shukri Allah. Eu lá que também, obrigado, si, ciao, danke, chuka, franco, marhaban, you know, all these things, you know, it is like, you know, swear down, that's what it is. So now you know,